Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Breiler.
I just want to start by saying go blue.
Well. Friday. This is what a Friday podcast feels like, huh?
I guess. I mean,
from the friendly confines, anyway. I mean, it's been a while since we did this. Chris, you were saying that right before we went live. Not running around like chickens with our head cut off, trying to get something planned for tomorrow. Not out on the road, some weird hotel where you've got drunkards draped all over your back. I mean, we're chilling today, dude. We're chilling.
I'll be honest. It feels different. It feels a little weird. I don't know, man. I don't know if I like it. I feel like I'm out of the loop a little bit. Not being ready for the game. Not being in Piscataway right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, we made a decision. We made an assessment, little pro and con list, and it just kind of came out this way. It's also worth noting that Friday is usually one of our, I don't want to say less popular, but people are out doing stuff on a Friday.
Tying one on?
Yeah. I don't expect them to sit down with us for an hour and a half on a Friday night. You know?
I expect it.
Okay, well, all right. So for everybody who's here with us, thanks for being with your boys. Because you could be out doing something else on a Friday night.
Out creating trouble.
We appreciate that. Did you say something about tying one on?
What in God's name is that? Is that a silo of Bloody Mary?
That's your big boy.
Wow.
That's your big boy.
That's your big boy right there. That's a michelada. Bloody beer for you. Just getting it in, dude. Just trying to do what I can do.
Incredible.
Incredible. What I can do. All right. Well, well, there you go. First one out of the gate. I think, is that a new? He might have done one before. Your boy Blue.
Your boy Blue's done several. He's done several. Yeah.
I recognize the picture now, actually. So thank you. Happy Friday to you as well. Yeah. And yeah, it's a full show. I mean, this is another thing. Friday nights, it's been a bummer a handful of times that we had to skip over it, whether we were out on the road trying to get Rosie back or we're in transit or we just didn't have a chance to jump on. Like, there's multiple segments on a Friday night show that I think are pretty good, pretty good to get to. So anyway, we got lots of stuff to talk about, and I'm looking forward to it. Chris, anything off the map, anything off the rails a little bit before we get really locked in, because we do have a lot of game-driven, football-driven content.
Not really. I will say this. The other day, yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? So my son is taking up soccer now. He's big into soccer. He's joining a league, which I'm very excited about as a father, excited to watch my son go and play soccer. He's really taken an interest to it. And all of his friends came over here because we live in a subdivision. They came here the other day and they were like, hey, come out and play soccer with us. Dude, look, I know I've lost a lot of weight, but I am so out of shape. Like, I played soccer for about 10 minutes and thought I was going to die. Like, one of the kids asked me if I was okay. I had to go in and get like a towel and wipe myself down, hands on knees, breathing heavily. And these, 8 to 10-year-olds were just taking it to me. I couldn't keep up.
They go all day. I mean, it never ends for them. I mean, you gotta remember back a little bit. I mean, I was gonna say it wasn't that long ago, but it's getting to be kind of long ago.
Wasn't?
But I remember in college even playing pickup basketball for like 3 hours. I mean, I just go out and play. I wouldn't have to think about it. Wouldn't have to worry about getting hurt. Wouldn't have to worry about possibly expiring. I mean, that's a real possibility at this point. Yeah, dude. I mean, whether it's something like that, I think I told you this story. Me and a buddy and our wives, 3 of the 4 of us went to Central. We went back not long ago, went to the Wayside, dude, hit it up, the dance club where we used to go just to get a little feel for it. The girls were out there dancing. I went out there, dude, 30 seconds into dancing, drenched in sweat.
Drippy, but not like the good kind of drip.
Head to toe dripping in sweat. When I used to do that for the whole evening.
Yeah.
And then have no problem sliding up next to a young lady. I would not talk to another human being if I looked how I looked after that night. It was embarrassing.
Well, you saw, so when we did the show on Halloween night, you saw that I had the Batman mask, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I told this story on there, but while I was out trick-or-treating, it gets hot in those rubber masks. It gets real hot in those rubber masks. And as I'm walking down the sidewalk, I'm thinking that, I'm sweating in there, and I'm thinking that the rubber mask is like rubbing up against my cheek because I can hear this squeaking. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like putting my hand in there and I'm trying to wipe it, and I'm hoofing it because I'm trying to catch up to the kids. Long story short, turns out it was me. It was my wheezing. It was my breath like reflecting off of the rubber mask going into my ears. That sound I was hearing was my lungs just working overtime. So.
That was the night we lost Chris. Dude,
what is this? What is this squeaking in my ear? It was my lungs.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into our actual segments, Chris Fields, thank you again, as always, man. And yeah, I mean, I look, I hate when this happens because I feel like I'm ripping off premium information. But when I have buddies of mine reach out because they're members over at other sites and they're like, hey, what are you hearing? Did you hear so-and-so and so-and-so might be out of the game tonight? I'm not going to divulge all of it because it is premium information, but it does sound like there's a substantial amount of Wolverines not playing tomorrow for various reasons. Minor injury, maybe a sickness or two, maybe even a little bit of rest. Obviously, Jamon Green is not playing. We'll talk about that a little bit as we get going. But yeah, I'm not gonna run down the list. I was literally asked about multiple players, and I'm like, well, had heard about a couple, didn't hear about some of the others. Sounds like Michigan up front on both offense and defense could be down some key guys. So I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I don't want to take thunder away from a pay site. That's not what I do, but that is the buzz, and that is the rumor that's going around out there. That is several starters possibly on both sides of the ball might not be able to make the trip or play.
I just don't get I mean, I guess in some ways I do get I get why people want to know, but there's a big part of me that doesn't get the like whoever plays is whoever's going to play. I and I don't want this to sound the wrong way. Like obviously we get to know some of these guys. We spend some time around them. You sort of build surface level relationships here and there. But in terms of like who's in and who's out, like I genuinely just don't care. So like I don't ask, I don't dig into it. It's not part of anything that any information I try to get. So I'm never, if you come here looking for that type of information, we're probably not going to have it because I don't ask for it.
Yeah, I mean, we get insider stuff here and there, and we get some stuff and some scoop injuries we kind of stay away from. And like I said, I'm not going to run through the list of what was talked about on a premium site. So anyway, I can confirm
a premium site, a pay site. What the hell is that all about?
I don't know. Just come here and it's all free. I mean, whatever you do your thing over there.
A site,
but yeah, it does sound like there's a growing list of guys who might not be available tomorrow. Anyway,
good weekend to take a game off. That's for sure.
So there's that. I will tell you that some of my you're dumb, you're smart, and maybe even some over-unders and prediction type of things might reflect that a little bit. So if you're ready, Mr. Byler, we can get into the first segment.
Let's do it.
You get to call me dumb. You get to call me smart. I know it's one of your favorite things to do, but
Love it.
Like that much. Lewis Blake, this is a beer with V8 Bloody Mary mix added to it. It's a frothy, carbonated, delicious beverage for the older crowd.
The human body wasn't meant to consume things like that, Brandon. Look at that.
I'm getting 2 days worth of vegetables here. What are you doing?
You got to get your veggies somehow.
I actually love vegetables, but it's true. It's V8. It's healthy. I'm basically on a diet drinking this, aren't I?
Just a model of top-notch health over there.
Whatever you guys want, I got it for you. All right, here we go. Number one on your dumb, your smart. Damn it! You know what? I meant to change this first. I'll amend it as we go because I ended up doing a similar one for over/unders. Anyway,
yeah.
JJ McCarthy will only throw one touchdown. That's my prediction. I'm sick of guessing 3, 4, or 5. I'm wrong every time. One touchdown.
I swear to God, if he only throws one touchdown against Rutgers, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind, Brandon.
But you know what? You can't call me dumb, can you?
No, I can't because it's probably a smart call. Yeah. But on this particular weekend, I'm going to say it's dumb because, listen, Michigan has struggled in the red zone. Everybody knows about it. They've had some issues. JJ himself talked about it after the Michigan State game that they felt that they left a lot of points out there. I think there's going to be an emphasis on putting the ball in the end zone. And again, as much as I love Blake Corum and love the idea of hammering away, at the opposing defense with him all afternoon or all evening, I do think there's going to be an effort to get the ball in the end zone when they get down the red zone. Now, maybe that's Luke Schoonmaker on a quick out route or whatever it is, but I think JJ is going to get more than one. I would say 2 to 3. So for that reason, I'm going to take the opportunity to call you dumb, Brandon. That is dumb. It's Piscataway. It's Rutgers. They're 4-4. They're not good. They're terrible in the red zone defensively from what I saw. Michigan's looking to make some improvements there. We'll see what happens.
It's on the road. Michigan won 20-13 last year in Ann Arbor. I don't know. No, I hope I'm incredibly dumb. I mean, we've talked about it a million times. I'm ready to see JJ wing it around a little bit and see what that arm's all about. And it just hasn't really happened. I mean,
give me one game. Give me one game where it happens. Look, if there's any game on the schedule where you're going to do it, and you're not going to do it against obviously the first 3 that you played, UConn, Colorado State, Hawaii, seems like Rutgers is a pretty good opportunity again to just test what you have in your passing game and use it a little bit. I mean, they're certainly not afraid to let JJ go out and run and take some hits, and so just try it.
There you go. What happens. See, Terry knows what's up. Michelada, it's delicious. It's good and good for you. That's what I'll say. All right, number 2. Chris, your comment to me earlier spurred this prediction on, so I'll see if you think I'm dumb or not, because you said to me, I don't remember the exact number, maybe you have it in front of you, but you were quite surprised at Donovan Edwards' lack of production this year. Now, he was a little dinged for a few games, and he's playing behind Blake Corum, who's carrying it 30-plus times a week, seemingly, at this point. Yeah. But Donovan Edwards is going to get himself in the end zone tomorrow against Rutgers.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think I think it's going to be a steady dose of Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, and he's we saw what he could do against Penn State. I mean, I think he had 177 yards on the ground. But yeah, to your point, the conversation we had earlier, and I was talking about this with a couple fans on the Facebook page, that if somebody had told me 8 weeks into the season that Donovan Edwards would only have 349 yards rushing, I would have been like, what the hell is that all about? I think, most of us expected Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum to be neck and neck in terms of what the production was going to be. And yeah, the early season injuries certainly played a part in that. But, Blake Corum has been incredible, and Donovan Edwards in spurts has also been really good. And I think that, this team, and speaking of Rutgers, this team and this opportunity is going to give him the chance to get the ball in the end zone. So now did you specify, is it a rushing touchdown or is it a receiving touchdown?
Anytime touchdown score, just like if you're a D-Gen gambler, you don't care how it happens. He scores.
Smart call. He will find the end zone.
All right, there you have it. So this is one of the things I referred to earlier with the injury thing. I don't actually know if it's been confirmed, but I mean, Jim Harbaugh kind of talked about it. We've heard that that Jamon Green got pretty hurt in the whole, the whole situation in the tunnel after Michigan State, and he's not expected to play tomorrow. So that means a start likely and a large dose of one Will Johnson. Will Johnson gets his first interception tomorrow in Piscataway.
See, this is one of those.
You love it. You love it.
I don't know where to go. I'll just call you smart. I'll call you smart. Look, if he's starting and he's going to get a lot of playing time out there, we've seen in spurts that he's incredible. He made a couple of really big plays against Michigan State. And he's obviously a kid that's on the trajectory to be, a solid starter at the University of Michigan for years to come. If he gets an opportunity tomorrow night in Piscataway, I could see him making the quarterback pay easily. And so, get his first pick, right? It would be his first pick of the season. Yeah. Why not happen at Rutgers in Piscataway under the lights?
He's going to be.
What are they wearing? They're wearing the all whites too.
All
the
whites,
whites.
Yeah, he's going to be playing a ton. I mean, that's the genesis of this. He has been close on a couple. He obviously plays the position better than your typical freshman. He's been getting worked into the lineup, even with a healthy Jamon and a healthy DJ Turner, and with Jamon likely on the sidelines. I mean, he might not come out of the game. I know there's been a little bit of a rotational thing at corner over the last handful of years, even when they've had really good ones. You just kind of give that guy a blow once in a while. let him see some things maybe if he gets a penalty, whatever. If you don't play Will Johnson and DJ Turner, I'm not sure who else you play at corner. So it seems like he's going to be in there pretty much the whole time on defense. So I think if he's got a shot, this is as good as any because of how much he's going to be out there. All right. Rutgers, Greg Schiano, they're pretty well coached. They're pretty disciplined. They're not overly talented. Michigan's expected to win by a lot. And I think they're going to impose their will. I think it's going to be a safe game plan. Michigan will not turn the ball over in Piscataway.
Yeah,
I'm only going fumble or pick. Like if they, I don't know, somehow randomly go for it on a 4th and 3 and get stuff like turnover on downs, I'm kind of fudging the line a little bit. But pick or fumble is what I'm talking about. 0 of them.
Yeah, I think it's a smart call. By and large, they played pretty good, pretty solid football in terms of not turning the ball over. I don't know how many picks JJ has. He might have 2 on the year at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
I know they had, kind of a fumble issue early against Maryland when they started Big Ten play, but for the most part, they've been pretty solid in terms of holding on to the ball. And I just honestly, if the game goes the way I think it's going to go, where they're just going to hammer it away all evening with Blake Corum, I just don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to turn the ball over. And so for that reason, I'm going to say, I don't think Michigan has a single offensive turnover in that game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just feel like it's going to be relatively safe. They're expected to win by a lot. I don't know. It just seems like it's going to feel like
is it 26 points? Is it a 26 point spread? 25 and a half?
I feel like we're going to get done watching it. We're going to be like, that game sucked, and they won by 30 or 9-0. Like, I feel like that's what it's going to be. It's what it's been every
right now. Just feels like a waiting game for Ohio State. That's what it feels like. Everybody now is, unless again you're taking it one game at a time as a fan. And if you are, what the hell are you doing here? Go watch game film. Make sure you are fully prepared for tomorrow night.
All right, last but not least, and I wonder what you're going to say on this one, Chris. And I referenced the game last year earlier, the one in Ann Arbor, how it looked.
Yeah.
Different year, different team, different motivation, different time in the year, I believe. I think Rutgers was early October last year, if I remember correctly. But it's neither here nor there. This is what I think. Michigan is not going to cover tomorrow. It's a big number. I think Rutgers is going to be feisty at home. I think Michigan's going to do some good things. But, I mean, dude, even if they win by a substantial chunk, it might not cover. A 24-point win would be an ass whooping, and that's still not going to cover.
Dumb. They will cover.
Right, well, hey.
They will cover. Just based on the score prediction alone that I have.
There you go. We're going to get to that.
Yeah, they'll cover.
Michigan's traditionally one of the worst teams in the country when it comes to covering spreads. And it's kind of some of the stuff we talked about, taking the foot off the pedal, 18 first downs versus 6 in the second half against Iowa. That's
now,
kind of the Michigan way.
Listen, if it looks similar to what it looked like against Michigan State, where you kind of you stutter out in the red zone and you're trotting out Jake Moody and 7 points turns into 3, and that happens repetitively, then maybe they don't cover. But I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think enough guys have acknowledged the fact that the red zone has been a bit of an issue. I think they're going to put an emphasis on it, and if there's any week to really get that up and running, you do it. It's a good opportunity to do it on the road against a team like Rutgers, a team that, by the way, last weekend was shut out by Minnesota like 34-0. So this is an opportunity for Michigan here.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I could end up being very wrong on that. I've picked Michigan to cover several times this year, and they haven't. And so, early on in the year, the spreads were gigantic, and, they were covering some of those because, the teams were just that bad. But, it's been a couple, some of these other decent spreads where they haven't been able to get there. So I'm throwing it out there. Like I said, I could play it real safe. Blake Corum's going to carry it 15 times. Cool. Of course he is. Like, trying to step out there a little bit and just give us something that's fun to talk about. So there you go. Pretty dumb, pretty smart guy at times, I guess, right?
I'd say a little bit of both.
All right, let's hear a little bit from our guy, Richie Rich.
Escapes located in Burton. Let me fill you in a little bit about our business. We are a full-service sign and graphic company, from banners, yard signs, to vehicle wraps. When it comes to marketing your business, we also provide video and photography services, as well as apparel and promotional items. If it's something that will make your business or organization stand out, we do it, and I guarantee we do it well. We are Mediascapes on Dorrit Highway, south of Bristol Road, just before Rock Bottom. Check out our work at Mediascapes.com. That's Mediascapes with a K.com.
As always, Mediascapes with a K. There's the spelling. There's the logo. You can see that on the side of our glorious RV. 810-410-4737 right there in Burton. Chris is almost paying rent there. He goes there so often. So I don't know.
I just had lunch with Rich the other day. We went to where the hell did we go? We went to a bar in Burton called Sharky's, which is kind of just down the road. Grab some lunch there real quick. And funny side note, they have one of these little you go to like an arcade or whatever, and they have those machines where you put the quarter in and then it drops down, and there's like a thing that pushes the quarters forward and is supposed to knock it down. Listen, this is why I don't download the gambling apps, because your boy has a problem. I was pouring money into that machine, and like every time a few quarters dropped, I'm like, this thing is on the verge of dropping like
it's right
$100 worth of quarters. It's right there, and I kept pumping it in. My daughter wanted to go play other games, and I was like shoving her away so I could, there's a fine line, man, and I need to stay on this side of it.
So you really, like, we joke about me. By the way, I haven't deposited any money into my account since football season started, because I had a pretty big hit out of the gate, and that's been feeding my habits.
Yeah.
I comically refer to myself as a degen. You think you'd fully jump into the pool, be a degenerate? You're worried about that?
Yes, there's no question about it. I mean, when you've worked with me now for a year and a half. When I commit to something, Brandon, I commit fully and wholeheartedly. And if I step into that arena, it could get a little dangerous.
Well, I'm pissed. I forgot to put a bet on the Pistons tonight. There you go. Always usually do that. So I jumped in there, and a bunch of the Cavs players were like listed as questionable, so none of them were available. And I'm going to lose everybody. But anyway, Chris, we want you to stick around. Both, so careful with the pickup soccer, careful with gambling, careful with Jets Pizza. What else is there? I don't know.
Dude, I have a lot of vices. A lot.
We want you around for a little bit.
Your boy's just gotta pace himself.
All right. I'm gonna do something a little different, Chris. I didn't even tell you this, but I'm gonna switch up a little bit.
Big Ten, big game.
Okay.
Because when I look at this Big Ten slate, there's not really like a good game, and there's also not like a dog shit game. So what I'm going to do, we're obviously going to talk Michigan Rutgers at the end. That's what we'll close with. That's what we'll do our predictions. We'll talk about what we see, what we think. I'm going to tell you each game that's taking place in the Big Ten, and I just want you to give me like the Cliff Notes, a sentence, 2 sentences. It's a horrible game. Could care less. Actually, I'm interested in that one. There's wherever you want to go with these games. There's no, it's not like we're going to do this for an hour, but I just couldn't really pick like a really good one or a really bad one this week. So
I love it.
We're going to talk about each one very, very quickly. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Number 2, Ohio State at Northwestern, noon game. That's going to be a murder.
Yeah, right? probably going to be a murder. Yeah, I mean, I'm always interested. I'm intrigued. I'll probably watch that game just because I want to see what the Buckeyes are doing. But week in and week out, generally speaking, it looks the same. Even if they struggle a little bit in the first half, they really turn it on, pour it on. And if there's one thing Ryan Day has proven, he's got no interest in taking his foot off the gas. No. And so I think even if, after the first quarter, it's like, it's maybe a 3 or 7 point game and people are starting to look at it, it's going to end up being a slaughter by the end of it anyway. So, yeah, I'm always slightly intrigued because that's the team that's going to stand in the way of Michigan getting back to Indy.
Guess on the spread? Got a guess on that one? I'll tell you what it is.
27.5.
Try 38.5.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Right.
I mean, that is a pretty bad one. It's just got a really
38.5.
38.5. All right, second one. Minnesota at Nebraska. Battle of the West powerhouses. Minnesota at Nebraska. It's a noon game. Does anybody care? I don't care. What do you think?
I give
that one, Chris?
This many that many cares. I don't care at all about that game. Yeah. That sounds like a snoozer. Will not tune in unless I'm trying to take an afternoon nap. Then I might throw it on. Yeah, no
it's
interest.
Also a noon game. I'm trying to find the spread on that one. Not that it really matters, but it's not.
Now it is Michigan's next opponent, correct? Nebraska.
It is. It's not a featured game. That's why. Here, I'll tell you what that is in just a second. Wisconsin. I'm sorry. That was the Nebraska game. Minnesota favored by 14.5. So,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, pretty shitty game. Iowa at Purdue. Another new. God, these games are just not cool. Iowa at Purdue.
Yeah, nope, don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit. All right, there you go.
Nope,
Purdue favored
0.
by 3.5 at home. I probably would take Purdue. They can score. Iowa can't. That's another snoozer. Maryland at Wisconsin at noon. This one a little interesting because Maryland does appear to be like not as shitty as normal, and Wisconsin's got some weird stuff going on that just normally doesn't happen at Wisconsin. But the Badgers are favored by 4.5 at home.
Yeah, and the Buckeyes have Maryland right before they play Michigan, and I'm always interested. If you kind of go back and look over the years, Maryland is sometimes been able to make things real difficult on Ohio State before that game, and so I'm always intrigued. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before. I don't know what it is about Maryland. I feel like every year I kind of view them as a sneaky team that can maybe pull off some upsets, and then by the end of it, they don't really do much of anything. But always keeping my eye on Maryland a little bit, especially since they're going to go out there to Camp Randall, and it's another opportunity for them to prove what are they? They're 14-point dogs.
No, just 4.5.
Just 4.5. Okay,
yeah,
just 4.5. Yeah, that makes sense. I'd be interested.
What's going on at Wisconsin? Jim Leonard right now. Who's going to be the next guy? Do they go after Bielema?
The Bielema?
The Bert Bielema? I don't know. Speaking of Bielema, Michigan State at Illinois. Number 16, Illinois.
Yes.
Dude, the spread on this one makes my cockles warm, dude. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. But it sounds like Illinois is going to beat that ass.
Well, here's the thing. This game with Illinois, we've been talking about it a little bit, with obviously Illinois. It's going to be Michigan's last home game. Yeah. Right. Michigan's game with Illinois going to be Michigan's last home game of the season. And Bielema has got them playing well. They're doing a lot of things really good. And Michigan State, quite frankly, look at this. We can at least thank the Spartans for that. Whatever flight they took out there to Champaign, that plane was able to save on quite a bit of fuel because half the roster didn't make the trip. So kudos to them for taking care of the environment. I think they're going to go down there and get their ass kicked. And then it's 3-6 at that point?
Yeah.
Is Michigan State going to make a bowl game this year?
I saw somebody tagged me in a tweet today, and some stupid Spartan fan got in there, was like, I'm excited for this weekend. This is the step to winning 8 games. And I was like, in football? What?
8 games?
Are you talking about a 2-year total? What are you? I'm confused. Yeah, that's what he said.
Boy. Okay.
Anyway, do you want to hear the spread or do you want to take a guess? Illinois over Michigan State.
Well, you said it made your cockles warm, so let's go with
nice.
17.5.
16.5 points, dude.
That's Michigan State's
Illinois.
Trash.
Illinois
is good. Michigan State is not. Makes sense.
That's fair. And that's it. So there's Big Ten, Big Lame.
Big Ten, big game.
Like I said, I mean, all of those games, I'm just kind of like,
At this point, like I said, it's Michigan, Ohio State.
I'm with you. I'll tune in to watch the Buckeyes, even though they're probably going to literally be up 40 or 50 points at the half. Like that's how they do these bad teams, and Northwestern's not good. Minnesota, Nebraska. I mean, that's what I was going with. Iowa, Purdue, Maryland, Wisconsin, Penn State, Indiana. And I do want to see Illinois whoop Michigan State's ass. I'll probably watch that one too.
Very intrigued by that. That one in Ohio State, Northwestern, I'll probably give some attention to.
So
no doubt.
Anyway,
Skriniar back in the house.
Always in the house. Thank you, Skriniar. Yeah, looking for a convincing win and no injuries. I mean, Michigan not very healthy for the first time all season, really. I mean, any season you're going to have some dings, but multiple guys sounding like they're out tomorrow. So
are we still at a place where a W is a W, or like if it is somewhat close out there and Michigan doesn't cover? I mean, does that concern you at all, or is it just at this point is it just about get through, rack up the wins, and get to Columbus undefeated?
No, it's just no. I think. Rutgers under Schiano has a tendency to kind of punch above their weight. They're going to give Michigan everything they got. If Michigan does have some key guys out on injury, it's kind of a weird day playing all the way out on the road, farthest road trip of the year at night. I mean, like that's That's why I don't think Michigan's going to cover. I think there's just kind of a lot of little weird things. Like, I don't think they're going to be challenged. Like I said, if Michigan wins by 24, they still don't cover, and that's an ass whooping. I mean, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of weird things kind of going on.
You don't see 78-0 on Saturday?
I don't see that with this team. No, I don't. But Michigan is far more talented, and Rutgers isn't going to win the game. But that's the other,
you know what? That's the other thing to consider. I mean, now that the playoff rankings are out, how important is it that Michigan does go out and cover against a team like Rutgers? I mean, are they at a place now where you have Rutgers, Nebraska, Illinois? You've got to go out and make a statement and impress the playoff committee, because at the end of the day, that's a group of individuals who are determining your fate. Now, again, if Michigan wins out, it doesn't matter how close those games are; they're going to be in. But style points do seem to count to the committee.
Style points might end up mattering a little bit for a team like Michigan, who has such a weak non-conference schedule. And for whatever reason, the narrative still seems to be that they just haven't played anybody. I mean, I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. But you're not wrong. That's an interesting take. The style points could help their case a little bit.
Aaron
M, appreciate you, man. Chris the Wing. Oh yes, people have asked about that before. What's the story on that specific helmet right there?
Yes, this was player worn. It's one of my prized possessions here. You can see, I'll try to get it close, but you can see all the the gashes, some of the marks right there. I believe it belonged to Henry Poggi. But one of the cool things about it is it's got the hashtag Chad Tough from when they did that during the 2015 season, obviously for Chad Carr. And it's just, it was a rare opportunity to be able to get my hands on it. Was happy I did. And that's the story behind that. Henry Poggi.
There you go. We don't have a fancy schmancy, recording or commercial for this, but I will throw up the photo and just let me and Chris riff a little bit on Wolverine State Brewing Company. Our guy Nate over there, every single tailgate that we've had, with the exception of maybe like a couple of the early ones when we were still kind of figuring stuff out, dude, the beer, the food, just the support. I mean, if it's Nate himself or if it's somebody else that works there, or every time Chris and I go into the place, Chris did the podcast from there last week. We go in there with a bunch of our friends. They open up the private back room for us.
Yeah.
Class, amazing food, phenomenal beer. And they made one of Chris's dreams come true. He's got his own beer with his own label.
It's incredible.
Like King Dingling walking around here.
King Dingling. And they've also got some merch in there as well. So,
which is so cool.
Yeah. I mean, those guys, it's a cool vibe that's in there. We've talked about this before. They really don't have like a storefront. They're kind of tucked away, but then you pull in there like after a game, especially after a noon game. And every single time I've walked in there after a home game, there has been multiple Michigan football players in there enjoying, beer and food with their families. And so it's always a really cool environment to go into. They've got a great selection of beer, great selection of food. And of course, the staff there always takes care of us, always makes us feel like we're, the most important people there. And I would imagine we're not the only people that feel that way. So couldn't be happier to be partnered with those guys for sure.
Absolutely. And Zach, I'm not a huge beer guy, but I'm not an IPA guy at all. Chris, on the other hand, is. He lives for the Gulo IPA.
Well, that's actually IPL.
So
it's brewed a little bit differently.
But I've heard they've recently added more hops to it. Anyway, super bad reference. No, I'm not big on the hoppy beers, and they do. They have a ton of other ones in there. They have a White Russian inspired beer, which is one of my favorites. It's called The Dude. It'll knock you on your ass a little bit, but it tastes really good. So anyway, if you've never been, go. If you've been there before, go again. Order the food, get some drinks, talk to Nate, talk to the workers there. Tell them you know us. They might give you a pat on the back or a kick in the pants. I'm not really sure what might happen that particular day, but we love it in there, man, and we're super happy that they're a part of what we do. So there you go.
No doubt.
Let me get this picture off here so you can see our beautiful smiling faces. And I think we had a couple more donations while we were out, dude. So
we did. Okay.
We'll track those down real quick, and then we'll move on to our next segment. Let me see. Where are we at? Where are we at here? AJ Cooper had one. Darren M already asked that one. Skrionk. I think AJ Cooper's the last one we need to speak about. So AJ, I could not agree more with your sentiment here. It's not off topic. We're kind of just talking about whatever at this point. So I don't think it's off topic at all. Just giving some love to a person that maybe we haven't a lot. I mean, I know I've certainly talked about Rod Moore and how he's outplayed his recruiting ranking, tons of playing time as a true freshman, leading the team this year as a sophomore in interceptions. Seems to be a coach on the field. Steve Klinkscale has talked about it. They've called him different. He's not a very big guy, but he is a sure tackler. He always seems to make the right read on the ball. I honestly can't, and I haven't exactly combed through and watched every snap of his, but he's always at or near the top per Pro Football Focus, which whether you believe in that stuff or not, it's pretty consistent that he's good every week there. And I legitimately can't think of a time where he's been like burnt or beat. And that's not the case with some of the safeties that Michigan has had playing over the last couple of years. He's playing out of his mind. Him and Mike Sainristil, for a young guy to be an all-the-time starter, Rod Moore, who hardly ever comes off the field, and Mike Sainristil, who, again, we've talked about it a bunch of times. We thought he just had a token move to defense. Is now, those are two of your best defensive players.
Yeah, and I think Rod Moore started to come out a little bit late last year. I think he had a solid game against Ohio State. And he has been, he stepped right in. He's played his role really well. And you're right. It's not that I don't think it's off topic, and I don't know if we talk about him enough. But yeah, he's done an exceptional job this year, and he's a guy that I think, this season is critical to the success of the team. But you can see it, and I've mentioned this before. You brought up Mike Sainristil. Mike Sainristil and Rod Moore work together a lot in the pregame. I would imagine it's the same when they're going through practice. Rod Moore is learning a lot from Mike Sainristil, and I think that as you start to get into next year, he's going to be another one of those guys that just assumes the leadership role on the team. If he's not there yet already, he certainly will be next year. And that's been one of the great things about this team is that there's last year you could point to specific guys as definite leaders on the team, and this year it's across the board. It's guys like Mozzie Smith. It's guys like Chris Jenkins. It's guys like Mike Sainristil. It's, they've got leadership all over the ball or all over on both sides of the ball. And it's been a pleasure to watch. And I put Rod Moore in that category.
Chris, I think that's a really cool perspective because you are down on the field several hours before kickoff. You see the guys out there before they even put their pads on. What do you mean? What do you specifically like? It sounds like something clearly stands out with Mike.
Yeah, the way that they go through drills, the way that they're always kind of, they're always next to each other. Sainristil's always working with him on drops and footwork and stuff like that. And same with Mozzie Smith. Like you go out there and you watch Mozzie Smith and he's with Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant and those guys, and he's going through drills and he's teaching them stuff. And you can tell it's not just that they're going through the motions, but Mozzie's giving feedback right there in the pregame. And we saw a little bit of that when we went to the Big Ten Champions Camp.
Yeah.
I think that was over the summer at this point out in LaGrange, Illinois. And Mozzie was doing it out there too. He was hands-on. He was teaching the kids. He seems like a real quiet guy, but this guy has, you talk about growth physically. He got a lot bigger from last year, a lot stronger, but Mozzie Smith has also grown tremendously as a leader. And it's just really cool to watch that side of them as well. I think it really speaks to their maturity and how close these guys are and how committed they are to being great. And it's fun to cover a team like that.
That's good shit, man. That's stuff like even up in the box, like I don't know, you can see what's going on, but being down there, dude, shooting a photo and you're 20 feet from these guys or less sometimes, like you can really get a sense of that. And so that's good perspective, even for people who come to the games and go real early into the stadium, might not get close enough to really see that or hear about it. Or,
I can tell you during the pregame at Michigan State, my face was touched by the ass of a Michigan football player.
Awesome.
Ass made connection to cheek. That's how close I was in the mix. I was there, Brandon. So close you can feel it. I did.
38-52 ass.
It was an accident. It wasn't intentional, I don't think. I was beyond the barrier of where photographers are supposed to be. Now, pregame down in the field, there's about 50,000 alumni, recruits, all kinds of people down there, and you got to fight your way close. And I was in the mix, and yeah, I got cheek to cheek, but
you weren't slow dancing. You got cheek to cheek, but you were not slow dancing, my man. Listen, I don't remember the exact verbiage you just used, but I'm going to check it out. It was at about 38-52. If we can make ass to face into a drop in any way, shape, or form, it's happening. So really looking forward to that after the show.
It's real down there. So it's real.
It's real on the sidelines. All right.
Real.
Chris, we got over-unders. I know you usually come into this thing a little bit seat of your pants. Are you good? Are you ready for some over-unders?
I am ready for some over-unders.
All right. Do you want me to start so you can have a couple
seconds?
Yeah.
Start it off.
You know, I pride myself on having an outline. Like a couple weeks ago, Chris was like, I just wanted to let you know, dude, I don't ever have anything ready.
Full disclosure, I totally forgot I even had to come up with over-unders today, but I'll do it. I'll get them in there.
All right. Well,
I'm ready.
Here we go. And by the way, that's just my own like OC. Like if I'm not like I have it like written, if I don't have that, I'm gonna feel like we're just gonna look here and just stare at each other. I'll just play
just a couple of dinks, of dinks staring into the camera. Can't have that.
Trying to figure it out. All right, here we go, man. J.J. McCarthy, 22.5 throws, 22.5 passing attempts for one young Mr. McCarthy. How do you feel about that number? You're thinking pretty hard.
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under because I just think that Michigan's going to be able to run the ball at will. And if there's anything we've learned about Michigan to this point in the season, if they can do it, they will do it. And I just think that's what the evening is going to look like. I could see him being right around that 21 attempt mark, maybe 19 attempts. I think it's going to be, you might even get a steady dose of Davis Warren there in the fourth quarter, maybe even see some Alan Bowman, depending on what the score looks like. So I'm going to take the under. There just hasn't really been an emphasis to throw the ball too much. And for that reason, I'm going to go under just slightly.
I'm going to take the over, but same deal, just very slightly. Like he could throw 23 and I'd be like, yeah, that tracks. 23, 24. I'm not going to pound the table and say, dude, 22.5. Come on, he's got to be over that. I don't think he does. I'm with you. If it's 20, 21, easily could see that happening. It's just such a low mark. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's such a low number. That's like not even like that's a quarter and a half for most quarterbacks. Like I don't know, 22.5. I'll take the over, but not by a lot. All right, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to go to Ronnie Bell here. Ronnie Bell leads all receivers this year. He's got 39 receptions on the year, leading all receivers through 8 games. I've got the over-under for Ronnie Bell on Saturday night set at 5.5 receptions for Ronnie Bell. 5.5.
I'm taking the under because you know how I do this. I always I get a number. As soon as you start talking, I get my number. So that's where I'm going to go. And I came up with 5. So I'm thinking he's going to catch some balls. Now, again, if you think JJ's throwing it less than 22 times, there's not going to be a lot of targets to go around. But I do think JJ will be slightly over 22.5. I'll go 5 catches for Ronnie. He doesn't seem to be the kind of guy that they throw low percent. So, like, in other words, if he gets a target, it's like a catch. Like, that's kind of how I see it with Ronnie Bell. He's not a guy that they throw a lot of 50-50 balls to or really dangerous plays. Like, it's little quick outs, it's drags, it's little stop routes. If JJ goes to him, he catches it. I will go under, but I do think he's going to make 5 grabs.
Give me the over. I think when I came up with that number, I envisioned 6 in my mind. So I'll take the over. Obviously, he's extremely talented. We knew coming into the season that he was probably going to be the top target. And we were right about that, kind of wrong about where Andrell Anthony would fit into that whole equation. But when it comes to Ronnie Bell, there is an emphasis to get him the ball. Give me 6 receptions for Ronnie Bell. I'll take the over on Saturday night.
So Chris says JJ's going 11 for 19 with 9 catches to Ronnie Bell. Got it. You think 6? That's not like a huge number.
6 receptions.
And I said 5. I mean, it just so happens that splits your prediction. All right. Sex in the comments, Chris. Sex in the comments.
You're doing it big when you get flooded with porn. That's how you know you've made it. They see value in what we're doing here.
That's factual. All right. JJ McCarthy. I think I had one like this last week too. I think it was a little less though, but I'm going to say JJ McCarthy rushing yards. So you can start thinking about a number if you want.
Yeah.
30.5.
Give me the over.
Ooh.
Give me the over. I think, he had 50 yards rushing, I think plus or minus, but he was right at that 50-yard mark against Michigan State. He's proven that, he is dangerous in sort of the read option and getting out. And, there were even a couple times where he dropped back. He took a quick look and he saw that there was an opening right up in the middle and he took it. And I think that was the advice that he got from one Mr. Charles Woodson earlier in the season when the two embraced, and then, they asked what the conversation was about. And basically Charles told them, like, hey, use your legs, use your talent. And you saw a lot of that against Michigan State. So I think we're going to see some more of that, whether it's by design or whether JJ just drops back and sees the opportunity to go. So I will take over on, you said 30.5?
30.5.
I'll take the over.
I'm going to hammer, but I'm here for the reason that you just said, because look, I don't know what discussions take place behind closed doors when they're watching film. I just can't envision any scenario where the coaches, the offensive coaches, are watching the film from Michigan State and they see JJ do exactly what you said, scan, tuck, go, and go pick up 15, 18, 21 yards and be like, yeah, okay, do that more. Just do that more. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't watch that game and say, like, that's effective. That's even better than the designed runs with the read option stuff. Let's drop him back. Maybe it's a designed quarterback draw, but even if it's not, I loved how it looked. He's a smart
and he's getting better at getting down. I mean, he's getting better at not taking some of the big hits. He was sliding,
He ran out of bounds. He had a head first slide, which got him an extra yard or two. I'm with you. I think over 30.5 because of what we saw last week, and because if the coaches know anything about football, and I know they do, they got to go to JJ and say, look to do that more. And again, maybe Rutgers is more of a collapse the middle thing, and they're going to try to take that kind of thing away. I don't know enough about their defensive approach and philosophy, but if they get upfield and they're aggressive at all and they leave lanes open, JJ's got to go. And if he does, it'll work like it did last week. So I'm with you. Over 30.5.
All right, I'm going to the big man on this one. I'm going to Schoonmaker. Luke
having a hell of a year.
A big part of the Michigan offense, and I'll just read off a quick stat here. Prior to the 2022 season, he never caught more than 3 passes in a game. This year, he has 4 or more catches in 4 of the last 5 games. So there is clearly an emphasis to get Luke Schoonmaker involved. Given that he's had 4 or more in 4 of the last 5 games, I'm going to set the receptions for Luke Schoonmaker at 4.5 on Saturday night. You taking the over or the under for Schooney at 4.5?
It's a good number. I'll take the over. I mean, tight end's a tough one to pick because it kind of depends on how they're utilized. Like, if receivers are in the game, they're going to be out in patterns a lot. Sometimes with the tight end, depending on what the defense is doing, they stay in to chip. They stay in for an extra beat to help with protection. They don't even go out in a pattern. He's on the field a ton. I've documented that. They never run a play without a tight end being on the field, and he's usually the one out there. And there's just so many of those little flare off the end of the line. He's right there. He cuts it up 8-9 yards, move the chains. I do wish they'd use him up the seam a little bit more. We don't see him do that a whole hell of a lot, but he seems to get open. J.J. McCarthy seems to have a rapport with him. He's had a couple games that maybe you said this, Chris. I don't remember exactly, but he's had a couple games this year of 6, 7, 8 catches. And so that 5, you said 4.5, so he's got to hit 5.
Yep. He's had 4 or more in 4 of the last 5 games.
So there you go. Yeah, I think give me the over. I mean, I don't think he's going to blow up for a huge day yardage wise necessarily, but he'll grab some catches, man. Yeah, give me the over on that.
I like it.
Is it my turn? It's my turn.
It is yours, yes.
Well, depending on how you look at this is either good or bad. But he's a fan favorite. He absolutely creams kick returners.
Oh, no. Don't
Jake
steal
Moody.
my thunder here.
Let's see if we have the same number. I don't know how you said it exactly.
Yeah.
But Jake Moody over under 3.5 field goals.
Well, that's
3.5.
Okay, so maybe let me tell you what my question was because it's similar. I had Jake Moody's over under set at 2.5 field goals in the red zone. 2.5 red zone field goals.
Okay.
So overall 3.5. I'll take the under on overall at 3.5. But at 2.5 in the red zone, I'm not sure where I would go there.
So you think he's kicking 3 field goals and all of them are in the red zone, maybe? That's not weird. It's not good, but it's not weird.
Yeah.
I'd be fine if Jake Moody was sitting in a hot tub on the sidelines all day. That's the weird thing that happens with this. And I've asked, I think it was actually Brad Robbins. It's the same premise. Like, the best day for a football team is when the kicker and the punter doesn't do anything. You know, I mean, like, obviously the kicker is out there for kickoffs and extra points. But for punters, you never want to see them. For field goal kickers, you don't want to see them in certain situations. End of the half, 48-yarder, cool. Bring the kicker out. Let's get some points. You get a weird penalty. It takes you out of, striking distance. Kick a 41-yarder, salvage the drive. You don't want field goals from inside the 10, and unfortunately, we've seen that from Jake Moody a lot. I'm going to take the over, and I hate it, but I'm going to take the over. I think he kicks 4 field goals, and maybe it's something like you said, maybe 2 or 3 in the red zone and then 1 long one, because that's what you need your kicker to do. But I just think the problems that they've had are kind of established at this point. And on the road, I think you add 1 extra. So it's not a very good team in Rutgers, but I hope I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope he doesn't kick any field goals tomorrow, but I'm going to take the over.
Same. Would love to see it. So should we go back to me then, since we kind of combined those 2 questions?
Yeah.
All right. So I put these numbers up not too long ago. We obviously know Blake Corum has been incredible, and I'll just kind of give you his numbers in Big Ten play. So against Maryland, 243 yards on the ground. Iowa, I think it was 133. Indiana, 124. Penn State, 166, and Michigan State, 177.
It's not bad.
I've got the over-under for Blake Corum on Saturday night set at 150.5 yards on the ground for Blake Corum.
150.5?
150.5. Which would be, let me just say this, out of the 5 Big Ten games that they've played, there's only 2 of them where he's been under 150 yards.
Give me the over. Give me the over. It's
hammer
crazy.
It.
It's crazy, but it just seems like I'll be shocked if he doesn't carry it 25 times. I'll be shocked if he doesn't pop at least 1 for 30 or 40 plus. Give me the over. When you started reading your question, I set my total at 145.5. So we're not far off, and I think he's going over that. I do. I think $150 is kind of like the new baseline floor amount for Blake Corum, which is incredible. The kid is on a tear.
He's Mr. Consistency. He always shows up. I mean, he is in a lot of ways that Michigan offense, and I will confidently say that Blake Corum, unless there's a circumstance where, I don't know, Michigan gets up big quickly, they do something through the air, and they just decide not to use him for a good chunk of the game. If Blake Corum plays at least 3 quarters, I think he's going up over 150. So give me the over on 150.5.
Yeah, I'll take the over on that. All right. Yeah, this is your big boy.
That is incredible. It's bigger than your entire head.
It is.
How can your stomach fit everything that's in that? It's incredible.
That's what I do.
Just over here, look at me. Just being responsible.
It's delicious.
Now, I will say before I got on here, I did eat McDonald's, and I'm not proud of it. You know how you feel after you eat. I had some McDonald's before I got on the Listen, McDonald's before you have it sometimes sounds like a good idea, but after you have it, it never feels like a good idea. There's always regret and shame and disappointment. I feel like I got a shower after I eat McDonald's, so not happy with myself.
Not happy. Yeah. Well, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. All right. Junior Colson. This is maybe a discussion for another day. I'm not sure if you'd say he's been really impressive or
hammer the over, Brian Petrosky. Hammer the over.
Oh yeah. Well, is it just a yes or no, or give me how?
Whatever it is, just hammer the over. Take the affirmative. Whatever it is, it's going down.
I need the frequency of trips to get a discussion. If it's just a yes or no, that the house is losing its ass on that bet.
It's happening.
All right. So Junior Colson, I think he's been pretty good this year. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. As good as we thought. I think, like I said, that's a discussion for another day. But he is leading the team in tackles. He gets about 7.37 tackles per game. So Junior Colson over under 7.5 tackles against Rutgers. It's right where his season average is.
Give me the over. I think he's going to be active on Saturday night. It's one of those things where it feels like kind of a crapshoot a little bit, just based on who's going to step up and what Rutgers is going to try to do offensively to move the ball against that defense. But I'll still take the over. You said what he's averaging 7.5?
Wait, 7.37, like right there. I put it smack on his average.
Give me the over. I think everybody's average on the side of Michigan is going to increase a little bit on Saturday night.
I would take the same thing. I mean, Rutgers is not like an air-it-out team, but I do wonder if they're even going to have any success running the ball, if they're going to abandon that early. So I agree with you. I think the game flow can dictate how productive he is, but he's been solid. I think I predicted, I don't remember if you fell in line with me, that he would be over 100 tackles on the season, and it's going to be close. He's at 59 right now. He had 60 tackles as a true freshman the whole season. He's got 59 right now through 8 games. So, that leaves 4 regular season games, a bowl game, maybe a Big Ten championship to get to that 100 mark. He's going to be close. Give me the over. I'm sure he's going to be chasing that 100 tackle mark. Let's see if he can get part of the way there tomorrow in Jersey. So there you go. Over 7.5 tackles for Colson.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Here's a trend that I have noticed and I absolutely love with Michigan football, and I want to see it continue personally. So I'm going to read you over the last 4 games. So this is Michigan's time of possession advantage over the last 4 games. Against Iowa, Michigan was plus 7 minutes and 28 seconds. Against Indiana, it increased. It was plus 15 minutes and 46 seconds. Again, against Penn State, it was plus 23 minutes and 52 seconds. And against Michigan State, plus 21 minutes and 6 seconds. And so I'm going to take the over-under here. I'm going to put it at 20 minutes, which you can't put a half on it. I'll just put it at 20 minutes, and you can tell me over or under 20 minutes. Does Michigan keep the streak? The last 3 games, they've been over 20 minutes in time of possession. Do they do it again against Rutgers on Saturday night?
That's pretty impressive. That's a pretty impressive mark, and honestly, I do think time of possession is a little bit of an antiquated stat, but I think if you're keeping the ball more than 20 minutes than your opponent, that means something. I do think, with the fast-scoring nature of a lot of offenses now, I don't know who's Ohio State would probably they don't give a shit how long they hold the ball for. They don't care. Right. Clemson for a long time was like that. Oklahoma, when they had Lincoln Riley, I would guess USC is like that now out there with Lincoln Riley. So I don't know, if you can always put a lot of value on that stat, but when you look at the way Michigan handles things on offense, how they score, how they win, how they get first downs, Blake Corum leading the country in first downs game this year. Hassan Haskins did it last year. That's not a coincidence. That's not by mistake. And when you keep a really good offense off the field for 20-plus minutes, which is what they're going to try to do against Ohio State in late November, that's how you beat them. So I say all that to say against a Rutgers team, over. I think they're going to dominate time of possession. They're going to pick up first downs. They're going to have long, sustained drives, 8, 9, 10, 12-play drives, lots of running with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, maybe JJ. They're going to win the time of possession battle by a lot. I don't think there's any question. 20 minutes is very substantial. I'll take it, though. I'll take the over 20 minutes.
Yeah, when you're talking about 60 minutes of football, when you hold the ball for 23 minutes, when you hold the ball for 47 minutes or whatever it is. My math is off here. When you hold the ball for a long damn time, your odds go up of winning. And I do think that is the recipe for how you win in Columbus. I think you got to keep C.J. Stroud on the sideline. And if Michigan's putting together long, extensive drives and they're putting the ball in the end zone again, you got to get the red zone issues figured out. But if you're keeping that Buckeye offense on the sideline and you're also scoring touchdowns in the process, I think that's the formula. That's how you win in Columbus. And I do think you're going to see more of the same this weekend in Piscataway. So I will take the over as well on 20 minutes. I think that's a trend that they really want to see continue. And I'd love to see it continue personally.
They're not going to change.
Not at this point. No,
they're not going to.
This whole idea of a switch being flipped. I have still seen people online claiming that this is the weekend that the switch gets flipped and they open it up. And I'm like, what? Why? What is this idea? It's just such an arbitrary, oh no, this is the game. This is the weekend. It's we're into week 9 here. What are we waiting for? This is who Michigan is, to the point where I've come to accept it. Not just accept it, Brandon, but I've embraced it. I've given it a big hug. I've given it a big hug. I've embraced the bully ball. If they can shove people around and get back to Indy and do it with Blake Corum on the ground, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, you really have. You even called it the dark side when I talked about throwing the ball around the other day, which
he was texting me the other night and he was like, you know what? And he was talking about, opening up the offense. And we were talking a little bit about Tennessee. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear explosive offense. I want to hear hammer it away with Blake Corum.
No, you don't.
Keep the ball for 40 plus minutes. That's all I want to do now.
It's a sad day around here. It's a sad, sad day. I think is this the last one since you doubled up?
Yeah.
All right, last one. We've seen this kind of go up and down all year long. I mean, the defense has been really good under Jesse Minter. It's been phenomenal in almost every second half of every game. But the sack numbers have really been there sometimes and really not been there sometimes. There's been a lot of pressure on the QB. There's been some absence of it. And again, other teams getting rid of the ball quickly, that certainly, plays into how this looks on defense for Michigan. But I'm gonna put the number relatively low, 2.5 sacks for the Wolverines.
I'm offended. That you just said that.
Listen,
I am offended.
Rutgers has only given up 13 sacks on the season and less than 2 per game. So,
listen,
whatever they've been doing to stay clean, I think they're going to do more of it against the Michigan team. So
2.5, give me the over. I would, if you would have said 4.5, I would have contemplated the over. But at 2.5, I'll certainly take the over.
Okay, I think I would also take the over. But when I looked at the numbers, how Michigan tends to go up and down a little bit, it's on the road. Whatever Rutgers does to not get sacked very often, like I said, I think they'll do it more. But I will take the over. I mean, if they don't get home 3-4 times, I think that's, again, game flow. If they're down, Rutgers is going to need to throw the ball. We'll see how that plays out. But I'll take the over as well. I will take the over as well.
Can I just give myself some credit? I was not prepared for that segment at all. And I felt like I pulled it off like I almost was. Like I almost was prepared.
I mean, you threw some pretty specific numbers out there.
That's how I got through school. I mean, it's from other things that I do throughout the day. I figured I'd just revert to those things.
It's a lot of years of I know what I'm doing, but you don't.
I've been doing this for a long time, playing this role.
Figuring stuff out.
Just make it happen.
Making it happen.
That's all it is.
Just snap decisions. Like sprinting home after school. I mean, like that kind of stuff. Right? I mean, whatever has to happen to a
now, Brandon. Come on now.
My point is whatever has to happen to accomplish a mission.
Whatever needs to get done to get it done, I'll do it.
Chris is going to do it. There's no doubt. There is no doubt. All right. Last but not least, our third of our big 3 sponsors. Look at that glorious shot. It never gets old seeing that shot.
One of my favorite pictures in existence.
It's solid. But the Michigan Army National Guard, Lieutenant Jared Johnson, a bunch of other folks over there at the Grand Ledge location, the recruiting hub for the state of Michigan. Again, we've said this time and time again. It's all about getting the right people to know that an opportunity like that is there. It's not me. It's not Chris. It might not be even you who's watching right now, but somebody out there could go to that place, fall in love with it, and become a member of something that, I mean, frankly, it's bigger and better than anything we do, Chris. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And they've just been so awesome to us that I have no problem pumping them up at every turn. I mean, every time they're around, they come out during the tailgate. We've got their logo on the side of Rosie. I feel proud of that. Like, I mean, it's something like we've talked about, like they're cut from a different cloth. I mean, people who know military people, like that, but we've got to spend a little more time with them than probably the average person. And it's been phenomenal.
Yeah. And what I will say is, part of this sponsorship and part of this partnership has been, they are trying to modernize the way they do things and go about things a little bit different, and to the point where the people who were there, that are part of the Michigan Army National Guard, like some of them were on Chinooks and Blackhawks with the Michigan football team. And I mean, they are trying to modernize the way they go about their recruiting process. And I think that has been a net positive to everybody who's part of the Michigan Army National Guard. It creates really cool opportunities that just didn't exist before that. And so huge shout out to Jared Johnson. He's been a big driving force behind that. And again, if you're someone who's on the fence about that, or you've been considering it, or there's somebody in your family that you think might be better off checking something like that out, I would strongly encourage it, man. That is an incredible group of people that they have out there. Every single time I go out to Grand Ledge, I walk away thinking a couple things. One, all of those people are better than me pretty much in every single way. And number two, it's just an incredible community of people that they have there that really respect each other and they do things the right way. So can't say enough about how, to your point, Brandon, I feel proud that we're able to say that, that's a sponsor and a partner of ours. I love it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And everything we've got to do has just been
life-changing.
Yeah, once in a lifetime type of stuff. Getting on a Chinook, flying around over there, doing what we did with that photo. Again, I mean, I've made several jokes about it, but Chris was directing a team of like multiple military people where to put like a $30 million piece of equipment. They might want to.
Funny. It's so funny that I can't listen. The fact that we had Rosie on the tarmac there, and that was at a point where the crankshaft sensor was still bad, so she literally could have died on the tarmac. And then I don't know if that would have changed the relationship a little bit. Now you got to start towing around the RV. But they have opened the doors and let us in with open arms, and I'm excited about the future. This is not our last time working with them on this football season, and we've talked about doing some other things, and I think it's just going to continue to get bigger and better.
At that point, Rosie breaks down out there. I feel like Johnson just calls in an airstrike, just blows it off the map.
Just blow it up, get it out.
On. Yeah, no, we're not doing anything to help out that hunk of junk out there. No, I mean.
Don't you ever refer to Rosie as a
I know. I felt bad when I said it. That's like, when you say something mean to your loved one or your kid, and then I
do feel like it's a family member.
Yeah, that was bad. I'm sorry, Rosie. Yeah. Sorry about that. All right, last but not least, we'll get into some predictions for some of the games around the country, and then obviously close it out. That wasn't a donation. That was just our sound that we played.
Interesting. Okay.
There's Chris, we talked about this, right? We're not going to the game this week. I saw Travis just asked about that. When are you guys leaving? We're not, brother. We're staying home. We're couching it this week, and we'll see how that goes. We'll obviously be able to get.
I got my mom coming over tomorrow. My mom is a big Michigan football fan. She always watches the games. I'm really excited to sort of take off the, put down the camera, take off the snapback, and just sit on the couch with my mom and watch a football game and be a fan for a weekend, man. I'm really looking forward to that. I value that.
Take off the snapback? Is other oils involved?
Yeah, you got to pry it off. You got to get like a wrench under there. It's bolted on.
I was thinking more along the lines of Chantel getting in there a little bit. I don't know.
Well, sometimes I get a little bit.
I don't know what's going to happen over there. I didn't know that ever came off. I thought you showered in it.
It does come off from time to time.
Okay. All right. What I was saying before all that happened, and I started planting images of Chris's oiled head in everybody's brain. There's a lot of good games on this weekend. It's a phenomenal weekend for us to not be traveling and running all over the place. I'm going to leave the biggest of the bunch for last, even though it's a 3:30 game. That's the Tennessee-Georgia game. We'll get into that. But first things first, Chris. Number 6, Alabama, going to Death Valley, going to number 10, which we could debate whether or not LSU should be number 10. It feels pretty strongly like an SEC bias there. But number 6, Alabama, going to number 10, LSU. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff. That's at night. Bama is favored by 13.5 in that one. It's a pretty big spread.
Give me Bama to cover.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly's a turd.
Yep.
I don't like LSU. Don't like anything about him. Give me Bama.
I agree with everything you said perfectly. I think Brian Kelly is a fraud. I don't think LSU is as good as the 10 by their name, and I think Bama's going to run them over. That's what I think. Couldn't agree more.
Louis, I do sleep in the hat comfortably, by the way.
Couldn't agree more. Number 24, Texas. Number 24, Texas is going to number 13, Kansas State, and favored. The Horns are favored by 2.5. Didn't Kansas State just pound somebody like 48-0 last week?
Yeah, maybe.
Was that Oklahoma State? And we both picked Oklahoma State, and then they got absolutely drilled by Kansas State. Yeah. But Texas is favored by 2.5 over the Wildcats. I don't know about this one. You threw up the Horns. I mean, you're rolling with Texas?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Texas.
Wow.
I mean, they still have weapons. They've still, Xavier Worthy's still out there doing whatever he's doing. They still got the mullet for the quarterback, right?
Yeah,
Quinn
Ewers. Yep.
I mean, they've got some firepower there. I think they'll get back on track. Give me Texas.
Kansas State, quarterbacked by none other than Adrian Martinez, former Nebraska quarterback. I don't know if he's playing. I think he was hurt last week when they beat that ass. So now there's a quarterback controversy.
There's some people. I thought I saw somebody say, how do you say the guy's last name for Rutgers? Is it Pacheco?
Isaiah Pacheco? He's in the NFL now.
Oh, he isn't. I thought somebody had mentioned him in the comments as if he were playing. I'm like, has that guy been at Rutgers for like 12 years?
Yeah, he's gone. He plays for, I can't remember what team he plays for. Anyway, Chiefs? I think he plays for the Chiefs. Anyway.
There's another one of those players. Adrian Martinez, cannot believe you're still playing college football. More power to you, but you're not going to beat the Longhorns.
I can't play the money symbol because it's playing in this current song, but Chris Fields, thank you. I'm so happy to be here with my family.
Down in Louisiana.
Baton Rouge. I don't know what that guy is. He is a clown of clowns, dude.
Can we get him a job at Boston College? I just want to hear the Boston accent. I want to see the transition.
Well, that would be – he's from there. He's from, like, Connecticut. He should sound like that. The fact that he went down there and started swimming in gumbo and riding shrimping boats is just obnoxious, dude.
Hunting alligator on the weekend?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right. By the way, I would take K-State also. Chris has got the horns. I'm taking K-State at home.
Give me the Longhorns.
All right, this is one of those weird ones in the ACC. Both of these teams are ranked. I'm now talking like Brian Kelly. Both these teams are ranked. I don't know.
They're ranked. It's going to be a good one.
I don't know anything about them, dude. Wake Forest is number 21 and NC State is number 22. I feel like Michigan would beat both these teams by 30. I don't know, like, a ranked team in the ACC just doesn't do it for me. But Wake Forest is favored by 4 at NC State. So Wake Forest going to Raleigh, favored over the Wolfpack. I have no advice to give on this one. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, give me the Wolfpack. They're at home. Don't know a lot about Wake Forest. Give me the Wolfpack.
A couple of good quarterbacks for those two teams, I believe. Is it Sam Howell quarterbacking Wake Forest and Devin Leary quarterbacking NC State? I think that's accurate. I might be off by 2 years with those guys. I'm not really sure. Haven't watched them play this year. If I was a betting man, I would probably take NC State too, because I can't imagine that Wake Forest is actually that good at football. So there you go.
Is Chris Winkie still down at Florida State? He's like 49 years old at this point.
Is Luigi Villain still at Wake Forest? Is he done now? I'm being serious. Is his eligibility
that
done?
Is interesting.
Hartman, not Howell. Hartman. Sorry about that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Sam Howell, was he the quarterback at UNC a couple years ago? Anyway, whatever. I got my mid-level as ACC quarterbacks mixed up. That's what happens. That's how closely I watch those teams each week. And then last but not least, I will wait for Chris to come back.
The boys here.
Obviously, it's a massive game. It's going to end up putting Michigan in the top 4, I think. We'll talk about that a little bit on this one. And I'm surprised by this. Devin Leary is out for the season. All right, there you go. Here's guys who have watched more college football than me this year because they can. I haven't watched very many games outside of Michigan, and that's one of the things that comes along with the job. Anyway, number 1, Tennessee in Athens. At number 3, Georgia. And Chris, I don't know if you've seen this number. Georgia is favored by 8.5 in that game. And that surprises me.
Yeah, well, it might surprise you to know I just don't buy Tennessee. I think they're going to get their ass kicked in Athens, and I think everybody's going to sort of come down to reality on Tennessee. I think Tennessee probably falls out of the top 4 at that point. I think, yes, he did finish it. I think, give me Georgia. You said favored by 8.5. I think it's going to be, I think it's actually probably going to be by 2 touchdowns or more. I just think Georgia's a superior team. I don't think Tennessee's as good as everybody think they are. And I think that's going to show on Saturday night. Smoke them, I say.
I think Tennessee's
tired of the Tennessee hype. Tired of it.
I think Tennessee's going to win the game, dude. They showed me a lot. I know it was at home, and that's completely different. But in that game against Alabama, where Bama came back, took the lead late, for for more than a decade now, that's an Alabama win. It doesn't matter. They could be playing that on the moon. Alabama's in a close game. They take the lead late. They don't relinquish it. The other team folds. They don't have the fortitude. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the talent. They don't have anything. If Alabama gets you, they get on you late. That's it. It's closed casket. And Tennessee came back and won that game. Now, I know going to Georgia is a completely different animal.
And they're going to have Georgia's full attention.
There's
this
no
is
doubt
the one that they're going to be, they're not going to sneak up on them. Georgia's going to be ready.
And I might end up, dude, if Georgia wins this game by 20, I would not be surprised. But I feel like there's a little something going on with Tennessee. So I'm going to.
You like Heupel. That's what it is. You like him.
I do like Josh Heupel. They might not win the game, but I would take that number. If Tennessee loses by 7 or 6 or by a field goal, they still cover that number. I wouldn't pick them to win it outright, but I don't think they're going to get beat by 8.5. And I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm going to take Georgia comfortably by at least 2 touchdowns.
We'll see how that one goes. I'm very excited to watch that game. It's on at 3:30. Be able to catch it before.
Be a nice little appetizer before
I'm pumped.
Michigan Rutgers under the lights.
Speaking of Michigan Rutgers under the lights, number 5 Michigan, and I see some people asking about it. If Georgia beats Tennessee, that's 3-1. Does Tennessee fall behind Michigan, or is Michigan still on the outside looking in?
I think it depends on what it looks like. I think if it's one of those games where it does come down to a last-second field goal, or it's 2 top teams battling it out, I don't know that Tennessee falls out of the top 4. But if it looks the way I think it's going to look, I think Tennessee is going to fall out of the top 4. You're going to see Georgia move up, Ohio State move up, and then Michigan's going to be in the mix as well.
So, if you care about this thing at this point, which you can if you want, I mean, dude, it would look great every week on that graphic to see Michigan as one of the big logos sitting up there in the top 4. So in the grand scheme, it doesn't really matter, but it sure freaking looks good. If Tennessee wins, Michigan's in the top 4 because Georgia's they're going to fall out of the top 4. Tennessee might not. They beat Alabama the way that they did it. They're already at number 1. They might not fall to 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 or wherever. Like I said, it doesn't really matter that much. Michigan has to play and win, and then they're going to play Ohio State, and that's ultimately going to determine what the end of their season looks like. But again, each week, college football playoff show, a big fat block M up there in the top 4 is pretty cool, and a lot of people would dig that. So anyway, we'll see how that ends up playing out. All right, number 5, Michigan at Rutgers. We talked about the spread. It's big, 25.5 on FanDuel. I think maybe it's moved a little bit. I think I saw some people saying it was 26.5. But that's another big number. They've had a lot of big spreads this year, and again, they haven't covered a lot of the ones as of late. Let me see if I can find what it's currently sitting at. 25.5 right now on FanDuel. Chris, what do you got? Michigan, 25.5.
I've got Michigan covering comfortably. I've got the final score, Michigan 42, Rutgers 6. I don't even think Rutgers scores a touchdown on Saturday. I think they get a couple field goals out of it. I don't buy into the idea, even if there is some injury there. I know that you're coming off a obviously heated rivalry game with Michigan State, and some things went down, and Jim Harbaugh talked about earlier this week that it had an impact on his team. I think they rally. I think they lock in. I think they beat the shit out of the Scarlet Knights, and I don't think they give up a touchdown. So give me Michigan 42, Rutgers 6. Michigan covers at 25.5 comfortably.
I'm going to get booed, but I've talked about why I think it. We've now learned that several starters might be out of the game. I still think Michigan's going to win by a pretty large margin, but that's just a big number. So I've got Michigan winning 31-10.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Boo this man.
31-10. That's a 21-point win. It doesn't cover the spread. It's kind of boring. It's kind of
What does 31-10 do for you? What does 31-10 do for you?
I mean, kind of like what every game this season has done for me. They just win and they're undefeated. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
that's honestly where I kind of feel like I'm at right now.
31 points, man. I thought I was shortchanging them at 42. I almost went into the 50s, but I've done that a couple times this year.
I was going to say, you've thrown 50 burgers up there several times and it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
You haven't.
Yeah. Well, I threw a 50 piece up against Michigan State, and they definitely get there. Now, again, if those field goals are touchdowns instead, they do get there or get close to it. And I think that's probably what the difference maker is going to be, is that there had to have been an emphasis on red zone offense this past week. I got to believe that. I believe it in my heart and in my soul that when they get in the red zone, they're going to execute.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, Chris, come on. You're better than that.
Listen, this is when you flip the switch. It happens this weekend in Piscataway. JJ, 450 yards through the air,
All right.
7 touchdowns.
Okay.
Angelo Anthony, 14 receptions, 225 yards.
I will take a poop on the live stream if that happens.
You heard it here first, folks.
Frosted
poop
tip
on the live.
Tattoos and poop.
14 receptions.
Yep.
All right, I'm getting on the phone. As soon as we hop off here, I'm calling Harbaugh. I'm gonna say, look, I need a favor on Saturday. I need a favor on Saturday.
If Andrell's going into the fourth with like 11 grabs, I'm gonna be laughing hysterically. That's not much of a prize. Are people rooting for that?
What's the $5 super chat? What did we miss? Chris Fields? I'm not sure what we missed.
I'll scroll back up. Oh, I did. You know what? I did see that, Chris Fields. I'm sorry. I don't remember what we were talking about.
Drop the ball.
Notice that I have a Central shirt on. He says, "Go Rockets." Toledo alum, and Chips do anything except for fire up. Come on, dude. We don't need
That's what he called it. Chris Fields, you are
fire up
on one tonight on a Friday.
I think they just played. Didn't they just play, or did they play tonight? I don't know.
Who the hell knows or cares? Nobody cares about Maction.
My buddy Jared, who also went to CMU, called into a radio station and won tickets. And I'm like, they gave them to you for free. I'm like, you realize I think you took a loss on that. Like, I think they're paying people to go to their games this year. I'm a proud alum, but not the best football in Mount Pleasant.
I've said that so many times, man. The covering Michigan football is such a luxury. Like if I had to do this with another program, like the level of care that I would have would be significantly less. I mean, could you imagine if you covered Central for a living?
Yeah,
that would be brutal. Right.
We ran out of music. It's time to go. I will get the Charmin ready for the 14 touches tomorrow.
And I'll get the Charmin ready for the McDonald's for the post show.
Wow, there you go. Well,
there you go.
That's a phenomenal ending to the show, if I say so myself. Thanks for listening, everybody. Here's another pro to this whole approach. We will 1,000% be on tomorrow for a pregame show, and we'll really dive into some stuff and bring you some good content. And then again, after the game is over, it'll be a little late, but you'll see your boys twice tomorrow if you choose to tune in. So we hope to see everybody back. All right, take care, everybody. Enjoy the game tomorrow, as we will as well, from the couch and with our family. So have a good one, everybody. See ya.